Hello guys, welcome to episode 9 of this series. In this episode I am going to refactor the application a little bit because I want to move towards a more modular component-based architecture. So the beauty of using React for your front-end applications is that you can decompose the application into more modular, focused, smaller, components. Right now, the application that we have has all of its code inside of the two components, book card and add book form, as well as the app.jsx. So as the application grows in size, it is better to decompose the application into smaller parts. For example, we can extract the functionality for switching the theme of the application from dark to light, light to dark into its own component. Or for example, we can have another component for book list. So right now we have this book card, right? And we are mapping over the filtered books, and for each book we are rendering a book card component. We can change that as well. So I have prepared some refactoring to make to the application to make it more granular, more component based. So the objectives of this episode is that we're structuring the application with a better separation of concerns. We're going to extract UI elements into dedicated components, and this will allow us to improve the maintainability and scalability of our application. We are going to create different components. Add book form is already there, book card is already there. We need the book list, we need filters and theme toggle. So let's go ahead and create these components: book list, filters, theme toggle. Book list, filters, and theme toggle. And I need to create a new branch as well. So episode 9. So the book list component. Take a look at the code here. It is not that complicated. If you have watched the previous episode, you already know what this component is going to do. So this component is going to receive a books array and two event handlers for deleting a book and toggling the status of a book. If the length of the books array is is 0, it's going to return no books found. Otherwise, it's going to map over the books, and for each book is going to render the book card component with the different props set on that book card component. So basically what I am doing here is that I am going to take this section and introduce a new component called book list, and that component is going to receive this as well as these two event handlers. And then I am going to I am going to invoke this book list, and I am going to call it from my app.jsx. So let me go ahead to the book list component, and let me write this piece of code. Importing the book card component. So we are going to invoke the book card component from the book list component. We are going to receive a books array, undelete event handler, and untoggle read event handler. And then if there are no books inside of the incoming array, we're going to say no books found. Otherwise, we are going to map over that books array. For each book, we're going to render the book card and render the key, ID, title, and the author, is read status, and undelete and untoggle read. So this is the first component. Always try to decompose the application into smaller components, but do not over-engineer things, right? First start small, and if the application grows in size, try to decompose the application into more granular components. The next component that I am going to create is the filters component. So basically this component is going to receive search term and set search term, filter status, and set filter status. And then it's going to render an input for the search term and a drop down or a select element for the filter status. And these two event handlers, set search term and set filter status, are going to be used here and here. So whenever the values inside of the input and the select are changed, we're going to call those two event handlers, and we are going to update. We are going to update the values inside of these two local, these two props. Basically, what I am trying to do is that I want to take out this section of my application and introduce its own component. So if you take a look at the app.jsx, for the searching and for the filtering thing, I have already added this piece of code. So I want to encapsulate this into its own, dedicated component. So the name of the component is filters.jsx. I'm going to write the code. Let's receive 4 props: search term, set search term, filter status, set filter status. The input, which will be the place where the user enters a search term, and whenever that changes, we are going to call set search term, the function we have received as prop, and the select element, which will render a drop down. So different options. And of course, we will be able to use these inside of the app.jsx. So this is the second component that we have created. Let's go ahead and move on. The next one is the theme toggle component. So the next functionality that the application has is that it allows the user to toggle the theme of the application from light to dark and vice versa. I want to encapsulate that inside of my other component as well. So I am going to receive theme and set theme, and then a button to toggle that theme, and the content of the button is also dynamic. It is changed. So basically this means that I want to take out this part and introduce a separate component. So the component is theme toggle. So let's go ahead and add this component as well. As you can see, these different pieces of functionalities that we are extracting into their own dedicated components all follow a very similar approach. First, we started as small, but as the application grows in size, we are extracting things into dedicated components. That makes the code more scalable, makes the whole application more maintainable. So this is it. Now let's continue. Now we need to update the app.jsx to use our modular components. So basically, one of the things that is going to change is that instead of having that list, we are going to render the book list component. The add form component is going to stay there because it is already a component. The filters section is going to be replaced by this component, and then the theme toggle section is going to be replaced by this component. As you can see, the code inside of this return function is very clean. It has reduced in size. The application is more granular. We have fewer lines of code here, right? And we are importing the different components that we want to use from their different corresponding files. And then we have the books array. As you can see here, we're loading that books array from local storage. We have these local, let's say, states inside of the app.jsx. And when we are invoking, for example, the search term, when we are invoking the search functionality using the filters component, we are passing those local states as the props for this component. The same thing for the theme toggler kind of component. Another use effect for saving the books array and the theme to local storage, and then the different functions that we want to pass to our components as props. So the handle add book, handle delete book, handle toggle read, and then the filtered books code that we had, and this section, right? This is the whole filtered books section. And that's it. Let's go ahead and write the new version of the app.jsx code. As you can see right now, there is a lot of code here, and the application, the app.jsx component becomes unmaintainable as the application grows in size. But we are controlling that, right? We are creating a more granular version. We are importing the different components that we want at book form, and now that we have encapsulated these functionalities into different components, we can reuse them, and that's the beauty of React. So you define your component once, you make them configurable, and then you reuse them. So this is the app component. We need this books local state. We are going to populate it using local storage. Then we need the search term. We need the filter status and the theme. The theme is going to be loaded from the local storage as well. Use effect for getting the books, for saving the books to local storage whenever that array is changed. Another use effect for saving the theme whenever the theme is changed. And the functions that we're going to pass to our different components, like handle add book, handle delete book, and handle toggle read. Now, what we want to do is to write the code for filtered books. This is the code we wrote, I think, in episode 7, if I'm not mistaken. So we are going to filter the books based on the status and the search term. Returning the new filtered books array. Now the template itself. Let's reuse the components now. The theme toggle component, then the body, the filters component, the add book form component passing the function as a prop, the book list component, which is going to render the books using the book card component. And that's it. We're done with the refactoring. And if I refresh the application, I will see the application coming up. I can filter the books. This is working. I can search for Blazor, working. And this toggling is also working. The theme toggler is also working. So things are functional. Let's continue with the notes. So we talked about the different components. So book list, book card, add book form filters, and theme toggler. Different responsibilities, functionalities of the application are not inside of the app.jsx anymore. They have their own, corresponding dedicated components, and that makes the code more scalable and the overall architecture of the application more maintainable. Now we know how to break a large component into more modular reusable units or components. The structure of our project is now more maintainable, and we are passing props cleanly between our different layers of the application. That's it for this episode. If you want to if you enjoyed watching the series, please watch the last episode of this series as well.